the First Galactic Dominion War. Welcome to Factopedia. This is an independent galactic resource for fact-checked data on modern and historical events within the Illred galaxy. These holos are created and edited by members. To be a member, an individual must be a licensed scholar, appointed ambassador, public relations official, or communications director from any existing company, political party, government, or faction. This is to avoid as much bias as possible. The final official version of each holo is voted on by these members for accuracy. If there is a major dissent from the majority vote by an official member, their individual take on the subject will be included at the end. The topic of this Factopedia Holo is the First Galactic Dominion War. Several decades prior to the outbreak of the Second Galactic Dominion War, the galaxy was embroiled in the First Galactic Dominion War. This war was fought between the two superpowers at the time, the Coalition of Sovereign Systems and the Illred Empire. The emblem of the Coalition of Sovereign Systems, faction color teal. In 3174, the Illred galaxy had been almost completely mapped and explored, except for several dangerous sectors and areas full of unknown anomalies. The Coalition of Sovereign Systems was officially formed in 3182.01.1.01 as a trading alliance between many planets that shared common values of relative freedom and sentient rights. Most of them had developed interplanetary travel and had mostly phased out ideas of castes and kings. The coalition was not as much of government as it was a trade alliance. Each planet maintained their own militaries and governments, but had free trade of resources, technology, and tourism between them. The coalition grew rapidly over the next several decades as more planets joined and prospered economically. Travel across the galaxy became streamlined and quicker as the technologies to transport traded goods were improved. By 3205, 1/6 of all the known habitable planets of the galaxy had joined the coalition. The emblem of the Illred Empire, faction color black. The Illred Empire was founded in 2640.07.2.03 when the Illred clan took control of their planet after hundreds of years of feudal wars. Over the next several hundred years, the Illred Empire consolidated its power and fostered a culture of firm judgment, productivity, discipline, strength, and violence. It valued strength and did not tolerate disobedience or laziness. Those who disobeyed were made into slaves. Once the empire had developed interstellar travel, it began spreading and conquering nearby planets. The Illred dynasty maintained complete control of all planets they dominated. Citizens of conquered planets were able to earn better standing within the empire if they joined the military. After the galaxy was mapped in 3174, the Illred Empire began spreading more rapidly throughout the galaxy. By 3205, 1/10 of the galaxy was under the control of the Illred Empire. The First Galactic Dominion War began on 3206.08.3.04 when Emperor Zaxxon, Illred IV, commonly known as Illred the Terrible, gave a passionate speech declaring his vision of a united and perfect galaxy and ordering an attack on several planets within the coalition of sovereign systems that were near the borders of the Illred Empire. The coalition of sovereign systems was completely unprepared for this attack, as the Illred Empire smashed through the first few dozen planets in days, Lock-Talk Plus, with little resistance. The Empire laid waste to urban cities and quickly subjected survivors into slaves to mine resources, farm food, and build weapons for the Empire's war effort. After a week, Lock-Talk, of uncoordinated resistance, the coalition of sovereign systems finally agreed to work together to fight the imposing threat. Each planet had their own militaries, commanders, and unique ships, but they did their best to work together in space combat. However, the lack of united military communication led to even more accidents and defeats. Even though the coalition was much larger in population, it was almost impossible for it to compete with the single, united, and battle-trained army of the Illred Empire. The Illred Empire had far more heavy ship-class battleships and flagships. After several months, Eklock Plus, of defeats and incalculable losses of life, the coalition finally began winning battles against the Empire when a brilliant commander named Faruda Lilel devised a strategy to overcome their disadvantage against the Empire's heavy-class ships by arming Coalition light-class corvettes with version 2 Intellize missiles and swarming their ships with blitz tactics. What the Coalition lacked in heavy firepower, they made up for in speed. One of the most notable victories for the Coalition took place on 3208.03.2.07 when Fleet Commander Faruda Lilel completely destroyed the Illred Empire's 6th Fleet, commanded by Admiral Adam Stan, by positioning his light-class corvettes in hidden positions within an asteroid field and attacking Admiral Stan's fleet by surprise. The war between these two superpowers was the deadliest conflict that the galaxy had ever seen up to that point. It brought with it the development of terrible weapons, such as the mini-nova bomb and the gravity imploder. Entire solar systems were annihilated by the use of this technology. As the war continued and the years passed by, the gains for both sides were slowed to a stalemate. The Coalition and the Empire suffered tremendous casualties with little to show for it. Millions upon millions of lives were lost, with few planetary victories despite the increasing carnage. While it was considered a stalemate, most historians agree that the Illred Empire was slowly winning the war until an unforeseen event changed the course of history and the galaxy. The First Galactic Dominion War came to an end on 3211.10.1.05 with the rise of the Wraith Ascendancy. To learn more about the rise of the Wraith Ascendancy, please continue watching our New Year's Factopedia History Holos. This Factopedia Holo was uploaded on New Year's Day, 3245.01.1.01. This is a multi-part historical record to explain the history of the Alrexian galaxy, as well as the most recent current events. This Factopedia Holo was made possible by the Cooperative Interstellar Society of Historical Research, our partners and members, and by donations from across the galaxy, which includes people like you. To gain more insightful knowledge about history, please consider supporting us. Thank you. End Holo.